Coming up on 5 Minute News. January 6 committee to begin public hearings as evidence mounts against Trump. Sudan's Prime Minister to resign following military coup. And Omicron causes over 4,000 flight cancellations to start 2022. It's Monday, January 3. I'm Anthony Davis. The Congressional Committee investigating last year's January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol is looking at issuing subpoenas to Republican members of Congress to force their cooperation, the panel's chairman said on Sunday. Representative Benny Thompson said the committee is examining whether it can lawfully issue subpoenas to sitting members of Congress. The committee is trying to establish then-President Donald Trump's actions while thousands of his supporters attacked police, vandalized the Capitol, and sent members of Congress and then-Vice President Mike Pence running for their lives. Multiple people close to Trump, including conservative media TV hosts and his own children, urged him during the riot to make a televised speech telling his supporters to stop the attack. Multiple witnesses have corroborated that the former president watched the insurrection on television for several hours before finally releasing a pre-recorded message that also informed the rioters that he loved them. Representative Liz Cheney, the panel's Republican vice chair, said on Sunday Trump had committed a dereliction of duty on January 6 and that the panel should consider enhanced penalties for that kind of action. The American people, she said, need to understand how dangerous Donald Trump was. In the coming months, members of the panel will start to reveal their findings against the backdrop of the former president and his allies' persistent effort to whitewash the riots and reject suggestions that he helped instigate them. The 9 lawmakers are united in their commitment to tell the full story of January 6 and are planning televised hearings and reports that will bring their findings out into the open. Even as the committee works, Trump and his allies continue to push lies about election fraud while working to place similarly minded officials at all levels of state and local government, which will severely disable a free democratic election in 2024. Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok announced his resignation on Sunday amid political deadlock and widespread pro-democracy protests following a military coup that derailed the country's fragile transition to democratic rule. Hamdok, a former UN official seen as the civilian face of Sudan's transitional government, had been reinstated as Prime Minister in November as part of an agreement with the military following the October coup. In that time, he has failed to name a cabinet, and his resignation throws Sudan into political uncertainty. In a televised national address, Hamdok called for a dialogue to agree on a national charter and to draw a roadmap to complete the transition to democracy in accordance with the 2019 constitutional document governing the transitional period. The Prime Minister said his efforts to bridge the widening gap and settle disputes among the political forces have failed. He warned that the ongoing political stalemate since the military takeover could become a full-blown crisis and damage the country's already battered economy. Hamdok's resignation comes amid a heavy security crackdown on protesters denouncing not only the takeover but a subsequent deal that reinstated him and sidelined the pro-democracy movement. He was reinstated in November amid international pressure in a deal that calls for an independent technocratic cabinet under military oversight led by him. On Sunday, prior to his resignation, Sudanese security forces violently dispersed pro-democracy protesters, killing at least 3 people. Over 4,000 flights were cancelled around the world on Sunday, more than half of them US flights, adding to the toll of holiday week travel disruptions due to adverse weather and the surge in coronavirus cases caused by the Omicron variant. The flights cancelled by Sunday lunchtime included over 2,400 entering, departing from, or within the United States. Globally, more than 11,200 flights were delayed. The Christmas and New Year holidays are typically a peak time for air travel, but the rapid spread of the highly transmissible Omicron variant has led to a sharp increase in COVID-19 infections, forcing airlines to cancel flights as pilots and cabin crew quarantine. Transportation agencies across the United States were also suspending or reducing services due to coronavirus-related staff shortages. Omicron brought record case counts and dampened New Year festivities around much of the world. US authorities registered at least 346,000 new coronavirus cases by Saturday. The US death toll from COVID-19 rose by at least 377 to 828,562. Dr. Anthony Fauci said the CDC is now considering including the negative test as part of its guidance after getting significant pushback on its updated recommendations last week. Under that December 27 guidance, isolation restrictions for people infected with COVID-19 were shortened from 10 days to 5 if they are no longer feeling symptoms or running a fever. After that period, they are asked to spend the following 5 days wearing a mask when around others. The guidelines have since received criticism from many health professionals for not specifying a negative antigen test as a requirement for leaving isolation. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.